Clint Eastwood is one of the oldest and most famous movie stars in Hollywood today. Everyone knows him and all the movies he's made. He's been in movies, and he's also directed movies. He's been working in movies for more than 70 years. Actor has done almost everything, plus some things he wishes he never did. There's one movie he made way back in 1970 that he still won't watch today. If you want to know more about this movie and other movies he almost made, then keep watching to learn more. Clint Eastwood is known for making spaghetti western movies really popular. Spaghetti westerns are cowboy movies about the Old West that were made in countries like Italy or Spain. They were usually made by Italian movie makers. Eastwood also made movies that weren't spaghetti westerns but were like them, such as a 1970 American-Mexican cowboy movie called Two Mules for Sister Sarah. And this movie is the one that Clint Eastwood won't watch, even though people say it's one of his popular movies. Two Mules for Sister Sarah tells the story of a former Northern soldier named Hogan, played by Eastwood. He gets mixed up with a nun named Sister Sarah, played by Shirley MacLaine. Turns out this nun he saved wasn't ordinary because she had been helping a group of Mexican rebels who were fighting against Emperor Maximilian in Mexico. Hogan ends up protecting her from lots of French soldiers who are looking for her as she travels through the Mexican desert. The movie was directed by Don Scawl and was filmed completely in Mexico for a little over 2 months. The movie made good money, which was a big relief to everyone who worked on it because they had worked so hard to finish it. For the record, Clint Eastwood isn't the only one who didn't really like the movie. Many of the actors and crew didn't like it either, including the movie's director, Don Siegel. According to a book written by Judith M. Cass called Hollywood Professionals, the Mexican director had to film the movie for 65 days straight and get as much footage as he could. This was because he knew the movie's producer, Martin Racking, would re-edit the movie. And he was scared there wouldn't be enough material left. That would mean they'd have to film again. To keep too much footage from being cut, Siegel asked camera expert Gabriel Figueroa to help him film as smartly as possible. Mexico is pretty far from the usual places they use to make movies. Plus, it was a hard trip for both the actors and crew. The main reason why Two Mules for Sister Sarah was filmed in Mexico was because of Elizabeth Taylor. Wait, we know you're confused since the actress wasn't even in the movie. But for those who didn't know, Elizabeth Taylor was originally supposed to play Sister Sarah in the movie. Eastwood and Taylor were good friends. And she was the one who gave the movie script to the actor when she visited the set of Where Eagles Dare. At the time, Eastwood and Taylor's husband, Richard Burton, were working on that movie together. Everything was approved for the movie. Even Universal Studios said yes to everything. But there was one small but weird requirement from Taylor's side. She would only film in a place that was close to her husband. The thing is, Burton was working on the war movie raid on Rommel in San Felipe, Mexico. Eastwood and Siegel had no problem with that. By this time, both men had worked together on several movies, so they got along well. Eastwood, Siegel, and the whole cast and crew happily went to Mexico, hoping to film Two Mules for Sister Sarah. Plus, the movie was supposed to take place in Mexico anyway, so they were solving two problems at once. But things didn't go as planned. For some personal reason and other problems, as Eastwood put it, Elizabeth Taylor had to quit the movie, which left them without a leading lady. Universal Pictures took over and had a certain lady in mind, Shirley MacLaine. You see, at the time, the musical comedy Sweet Charity, starring MacLaine herself, was about to be released. So the studio thought it would be smart to have her in the movie with Eastwood so they could help Sweet Charity and use her fame. The studio had already made its decision, and Eastwood and the rest of the crew had no say in this. Elizabeth Taylor and I wanted to do it together, and the studio approved of us working together. But she was going through some stuff where she didn't want to work unless it happened at the same time as Richard's work. Eastwood said about the problem, So we had it set up to film in Mexico while Richard was working there on something else, he continued. But then there were some other problems, and I think the studio kind of wanted Shirley MacLaine because they had such high hopes for Sweet Charity at the time. It required some rewriting, and casting Shirley stretched believability a bit. Okay? To say they stretched believability a bit was putting it lightly, because Sister Sarah was supposed to be Mexican. As we can all see, Shirley MacLaine is far from looking Mexican with her light skin. Clint Eastwood said that Sophia Loren would have been great for the role, though it really would have been much better if they had hired a Mexican actress for it. This is why Clint Eastwood didn't bother watching this movie, even though some people loved it. Okay. While others say it's one of his less known movies, this may be one of his least favorite works. Okay. But did you know Clint Eastwood also has a movie that he thinks is cursed? If you want to find out what movie this is, then keep watching for more. To be fair, Clint Eastwood and Don Siegel aren't the only ones who had a tough time while filming the movie. Even the lead actress herself, Shirley MacLaine, also had some complaints about it. Eastwood and Siegel both felt the same way about the actress and how they didn't find her very friendly on set, especially with the director. In fact, it was no secret how the two of them even fought on set. It's hard to feel any great warmth toward her, Siegel said about MacLaine. She's too unfeminine and has too much attitude. She's very, very tough. Everyone else was okay with their filming location, or let's say put up with their filming location, which was far from the city. Shirley MacLaine had a hard time getting used to it. The actress found it annoying that their filming location was so far away. It's almost right up to the southern part of the U.S. border. Because of this, it took so long for the filmed footage to be sent from their location to California to be developed before they were returned as daily footage. What's more, MacLaine wasn't happy with her looks in the movie, especially with her fake eyelashes. Although the actress felt the fake eyelashes were too much, it was an important detail, since her role was a prostitute pretending to be a nun. In the end, she kept the overtop lashes to stay consistent with her looks in the movie. Besides her fight and bad feelings with the director, Shirley MacLaine didn't have anything bad to say about her co-star Clint Eastwood. If anything, she found him kind of funny. During the question and answer part at the TCM Film Festival, the actress shared a lesser-known side of the actor. He's quite smart and funny because he doesn't say much, and he doesn't know it, MacLaine said about her Two Mules for Sister Sarah co-star. I love him. I remember when we were doing Two Mules for Sister Sarah, his horse was acting up. This is when I knew he was a true Republican. He got off the horse, looked at the horse, and punched him. At least Two Mules for Sister Sarah did pretty well at the box office and got an okay reaction from the public. If anything, at least it's better than being called a cursed movie project. Just like the actor called this certain project of his from the past. Every movie production has its own problems, but there's always the chance of it going from annoying to completely cursed. Luckily, this character's good luck seems to have helped him as he managed to come out of the whole mess without getting hurt. But for the rest of the cast and crew, maybe not so much. The movie we're talking about is the 1984 action comedy City Heat, where Eastwood starred with Burt Reynolds and was directed by Richard Benjamin. Interestingly, Benjamin wasn't the first choice of director for the movie, since Blake Edwards was originally supposed to direct it. Edwards even wrote the screenplay for it. Fortunately, Edwards was fired before production started. The whole job of writing and directing was given to Benjamin. There was a bit of good news for Edwards, since he was allowed to keep some of his written work there, but only under the fake name Sam O. Brown. Looking back, maybe Edwards got lucky when he was fired from this movie, so he could only describe it as a horrible experience. Speaking of horrible experiences, if there's one person who had the worst experience in City Heat, it's Eastwood's co-star Burt Reynolds. Production and filming were going well until Reynolds got into an accident. He was hit with a metal chair during a fight scene, which ended up with the actor having a broken jaw. But since time is important during filming, they couldn't afford to delay it. So what Reynolds did was push through the pain, but just wanting to continue isn't enough to fight against it. In the end, he used painkillers to stop the pain, and it worked. The only bad thing is that it started his addiction, which put him into a coma and almost killed him. So, was all of this trouble worth the movie? No, not really. The public's reaction to it was not very good, and Reynolds was even nominated for Worst Supporting Actor at the Razzies. So you see, Clint Eastwood was the only one who came out unhurt in the movie. And Eastwood was pretty honest when he told California Conversations that City Heat wasn't the strongest story in the world. The best or worst he could say about the project was that it was kind of a silly thing. So if you could say your co-star getting smacked by a metal chair and getting a broken jaw was silly, at the end of the day, it's up to each actor. Even though he has made himself famous in the industry with many well-known roles. Would you believe there are quite a few other famous characters the actor could have played, but actually said no to? Here are a few of them. The roles of J and K will always be connected to Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones, with Smith even becoming more famous thanks to this movie's success. But can you imagine the role of Agent K being played by Clint Eastwood instead? Sure, the Dirty Harry actor had played a lot of quiet and serious characters, so he could easily do Agent K's character perfectly. Clint Eastwood was actually Sony's first choice for Agent K, but the movie's director, Barry Sonnenfeld, was hoping for Jones to get the role. In the end, Eastwood turned it down, so the role was given to Jones. Thankfully, he did, because nothing beats the on-screen chemistry of Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones in the movie that helped make the movie successful, which led to more movies and even a cartoon series. Western movies are pretty much the same as Clint Eastwood, since the actor was the best at them, especially since Once Upon a Time in the West is a spaghetti western, which is perfect for Eastwood. Also, the movie was directed by one of Eastwood's longtime partners, Sergio Leone. Both Eastwood and Leone met and talked about the movie, but the actor turned down the role of harmonica. Charles Bronson was then chosen as his replacement, but Leone wasn't giving up. If he couldn't have Eastwood as harmonica, then he wanted the actor to play the man, harmonica's enemy, which Eastwood said no to again, as one of the most successful action thriller movies from the late 80s that started a series. Bruce Willis's name will always be connected to the movie for playing the main role of NYPD officer John McClane. But did you know, before it became Die Hard, it was previously called Nothing Lasts Forever, with Eastwood owning the rights to this project. But if we're talking about the very first version of the movie, Frank Sinatra was supposed to play John McClane, but unfortunately the actor was still tied to another project, which was the sequel to the movie The Detective. Do you know the reason why Clint Eastwood said no to this role? The actor said it was because he didn't understand the humor of the movie, which director John McTiernan found hard to believe. Eastwood wasn't the only one who turned down this role. And according to rumors, many A-list actors did, including Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone, Mel Gibson, and Richard Gere. Thankfully, they did, because this became Willis's ticket to becoming a big star. It's pretty well known in the industry that the 1979 war action, movie Apocalypse Now, is one of the hardest movies ever filmed, and packed with high-profile cast members. For all their troubles, thankfully the movie won a lot of awards and got great reviews. Clint Eastwood would have been part of this star-filled group, but sadly, he too turned down this role, and his reason. He said he didn't understand this movie too much. When asked to know more about why he refused to take part in it, Eastwood didn't say much about the real reason. And it made the public even more curious, since he spent a good 16 weeks in the Philippines for some unknown reasons. Martin Sheen was chosen to play the role of Captain Benjamin Willard, and the rest is history. At the time, Sean Connery just had his final goodbye as the charming Secret Service agent, leaving the role open for the new face of James Bond. Surprisingly, Eastwood was one of the choices to take on the role, though it was eventually given to George Lazenby. He could have had the role easily too, since he even revealed how he was offered a pretty good amount of money to do it. However, Eastwood was firm about how he didn't want to step on anybody else's toes. Plus, he believes that it was somebody else's job and that it wasn't right for him to play it. There's also the fact that James Bond was a British hero, so to have an American actor playing it would be too strange, at least according to Clint Eastwood himself. Finding the right Superman was a very careful process in movie director. Richard Donner almost did everything possible for it. In the end, Christopher Reeve was chosen for the role, but Eastwood was one of the high-profile names on their list. This would have been a dream come true, especially for Eastwood, who has been a big comic book fan of the Man of Steel. But like the other roles mentioned above, he also said no to it because he wasn't too excited about the idea of wearing a tight suit and fighting bad guys, jumping from one building to the next. But out of all of these, there is one more role Clint Eastwood turned down. And it was a pretty money-making deal, too. There has been a Facebook post going around that revealed Clint Eastwood turned down endorsement offers from various tobacco brands back in the late 1970s. Some even claimed that the deal was worth $5 million, complete with billboard campaigns, commercials, and even print ads for the cigarettes. Despite all the money and fame it could bring to the actor, Clint Eastwood turned it down all the same. Years later, the actor revealed in an interview with the Los Angeles Times that the reason he said no to it all was because smoking caused the death of his father. He wasn't willing to risk his health, let alone influence his young fans and viewers with a dangerous habit. Many people clapped for the actor's strong choice, while some others found it weird given that most of the characters he played were smokers. He stood by his choice, even if many of his colleagues had accepted similar offers. Morgan Freeman, who Eastwood worked with in Unforgiven, showed respect for the Western actor and shared a memory he had with Eastwood. Back then, Eastwood noticed that children started copying everything he did, especially the gun scenes, and he was scared that they might start and pick up a bad habit if they saw him smoking. Because of this became the reason why Clint Eastwood never accepted any smoking brand deals.